A cloud of dreams. Leo patted his pocket, the embossed boarding passes crackling reassuringly beneath his fingertips. First class. He still couldn't quite believe it. He checked the tickets 3 times already, each time a wave of disbelief washing over him, followed by a surge of pride. He'd done this. He'd actually done it. Lily, bless her heart, was bouncing on the balls of her feet, her ponytail whipping back and forth like an excited metronome. Are we really going, Daddy? Really first class? Really, Leo confirmed, mimicking her tone. He smoothed a stray strand of hair from her forehead, a familiar gesture that calmed them both. He felt a bead of sweat trickle down his temple. Not from the heat, but from sheer, unadulterated anxiety. This trip was a monumental expense, practically draining his savings. But seeing the pure joy radiating from Lily's face, he knew he'd made the right decision. The gate agent, a woman with perfectly coiffed blonde hair and a practiced smile, scanned their passes. Enjoy your flight, Mr. Maxwell, Miss Maxwell. We trust you'll have a pleasant experience. As they walked down the jet bridge, Lily's eyes widened, darting from the plush carpeting to the gleaming chrome accents. Wow, Daddy. It's like a spaceship. Their seats were enormous, upholstered in buttery soft leather. Lily immediately started fiddling with the controls, reclining her seat almost to a flat position. This is amazing, she shrieked, giggling. Leo chuckled, settling into his own seat. He glanced out the window, his stomach doing a little flip as the plane began to taxi. The ground crew scurried around, their movements precise and practiced. He thought about the extra shifts he'd worked, the dinners he'd skipped, the entertainment he'd foregone, all to make this happen. He hoped with a silent prayer that it would be worth it. As the plane ascended, Lily pressed her face against the window. Daddy, look. The clouds. Leo followed her gaze. They were floating above a sea of white, the fluffy formations sculpted by the wind into fantastical shapes. Castles, dragons, giant cotton candy. They look like dreams, Lily whispered, her voice filled with awe. Leo smiled, but a flicker of something akin to unease passed through him. Lily had always been a dreamer, her imagination boundless. But lately, he sensed a deeper longing in her, a yearning for something beyond their ordinary lives. Was this trip enough? Could he give her the world she seemed to crave? He watched her silhouetted against the brilliant blue sky. The clouds seemed to beckon her, promising untold adventures, faraway lands. He knew with a certainty that her perfectly tailored suit, the color of rich navy, seemed to ripple with suppressed fury as she addressed the flight attendant. There must be some mistake. I booked the seat months ago. Vance, Eleanor. Seat 2A. The flight attendant, a young woman with tired eyes and a practiced smile, tapped at her tablet. I understand, Ms. Vance. Let me check. Ah, I see. There appears to be a double booking. The system shows the seat is assigned to a Maxwell, L. Leo Maxwell, halfway through explaining the physics of airplane wings to Lily, winced. He avoided eye contact, acutely aware of the drama unfolding. He'd scrimped and saved for months to afford this upgrade, a rare treat for Lily and himself. He remembered the gnawing anxiety of past flights in cramped economy seats, Lily's restless legs kicking the seat in front, the judgmental stares of fellow passengers. He promised himself, and more importantly her, that this trip would be different. Lily, ever perceptive, tugged on his sleeve. Daddy, what's wrong? That lady looks mad. Nothing to worry about, sweetie, Leo murmured, forcing a reassuring smile. He watched as Eleanor Vance, her composure starting to fray, produced a pristine printout of her booking confirmation. The pearls at her throat seemed to tighten with each clipped word. I have a crucial meeting in London, Eleanor said, her voice dangerously low. This isn't some leisure trip. This error could cost me dearly. The flight attendant's smile faltered. I'm so sorry, Ms. Vance, but all other seats in first class are occupied. Let me see what I can do. She scurried towards the galley, leaving Eleanor Vance standing stiffly in the aisle, radiating barely contained frustration. Leo felt a pang of sympathy. He knew what it was like to have everything riding on a single opportunity, to feel the weight of expectation pressing down. He'd been there, scraping by after the divorce, juggling 2 jobs, and Lily, the fear of failure, a constant companion. He remembered the humiliation of having a credit card declined at the grocery store, Lily's innocent question, Daddy, why can't we have the good cereal? A dagger to his heart. Eleanor Vance ran a hand through her impeccably styled hair. The gesture, so small, betrayed the depth of her distress. Lily, sensing the adult tension crackling in the air, whispered, Daddy, is she going to cry? Leo sighed. He looked at Lily, her bright eyes filled with concern. Then he looked at Eleanor Vance, her face etched with worry. The decision, though agonizing, was already made. The kindest cut. Leo felt the sweat slick his palms against the faux leather armrest. Eleanor Vance stood there, radiating a quiet fury that even the plush carpet and soft lighting of first class couldn't diminish. He'd unknowingly taken her seat. A double booking. A colossal, embarrassing mess. Lily, nestled beside him, was oblivious, happily sketching in her new notebook. "Dad, look. I'm drawing the clouds." He forced a smile. "That's beautiful, sweetie." But his attention was fixed on Eleanor. He couldn't just sit here, sipping complimentary champagne, while she presumably squeezed into a middle seat in economy. The guilt nodded him. "Excuse me," he said, rising. Lily's head snapped up, her brow furrowed. "I think there's been a mistake. This is Ms. Vance's seat, it seems." Lily's lower lip trembled. But this is first class. I wanted to watch the movie on the big screen." Leo knelt beside her, his voice low. "I know, honey. But it wouldn't be right for us to stay here when Ms. Vance has a right to this seat. We can watch a movie on my tablet, okay? It'll be an adventure." He wasn't sure he believed it himself. He turned to Eleanor, extending his hand. "Miss Vance, please. It's yours." A flicker of surprise, then relief, softened her features. The anger receded, replaced by a hint of a smile. "Thank you," she said, her voice smooth as polished jade. "That's exceptionally kind of you, Mr. Maxwell." "Leo Maxwell. And this is my daughter, Lily." "Eleanor Vance," she replied, shaking his hand, then offering a warm smile to Lily. "It's a pleasure to meet you both." Lily, still clinging to the remnants of her first-class fantasy, mumbled a reluctant hi. She watched with undisguised dismay as Leo gathered their belongings. The large movie screen, the extra legroom, the promise of endless snacks, it was all slipping away. As they moved towards the front of the plane, where a frazzled flight attendant was attempting to smooth things over, Lily tugged on Leo's sleeve. "But Dad, it's not fair. We paid for this." Leo sighed. "I know, sweetie. But sometimes doing the right thing is more important than getting what we want. Ms. Vance clearly needed that seat more than we did. And besides," he added, trying to inject some levity into the situation, "think of it as an act of bravery. We're sacrificing our comfort for the greater good." Lily remained unconvinced, her gaze fixed on the receding plush seats. As they settled into their significantly smaller seats in premium economy, she crossed her arms and stared out the window, a small, solitary figure silhouetted against the brightening sky. The clouds outside were no longer quite so appealing. Economy class blues. Leo edged past a woman battling an unwieldy bag into the overhead bin, his murmured apologies swallowed by the cacophony. "Made it," he declared, attempting a cheerful tone as they reached their assigned places. Lily remained unconvinced. Her expression was stormy as she took in the claustrophobic setting. "This," she stated, her voice a low simmer, "is an outrage." He couldn't exactly argue. Gone were the spacious flatbeds and the solicitous attendance of their original booking. Now they were wedged between a window jammed shut and an aisle choked with luggage. The recirculated air, stale and thin, carried a whiff of antiseptic and weak coffee. Their seatmate, a man sporting a meticulously groomed beard and an unnervingly bright smile, plunged directly into conversation. "Denver bound, are we? Wonderful city. I attend every year for, well, it's a conference. Probably not your thing. Though, funny enough, I met my wife at a conference. A remarkable woman. She works with..." Leo tuned him out, preoccupied with fastening his seatbelt. Lily, however, was cornered. He saw her jaw clench with each relentless syllable. Then a baby began to cry. It wasn't a delicate whimper or a fussy murmur. It was a full-blown, piercing shriek that reverberated through the cabin. Lily recoiled, clamping her hands over her ears. Leo reached across and squeezed her hand. "It'll be fine," he offered, uncertain if the reassurance was for her benefit or his own. The caterwauling persisted, underscored by the neighboring man's increasingly insistent pronouncements on the virtues of noise-canceling headphones. Finally, as the plane began to taxi, Lily's patience snapped. "This is absurd, Dad," she fumed, tears welling in her eyes. "Why did you do this? Why did you give up our seats? We were supposed to be in first class. We were supposed to have legroom." Leo sighed inwardly. He'd anticipated this. "Lily," I explained, "it was the right thing to do." "The right thing?" she echoed, disbelief coloring her tone. "The right thing is to be squashed into this airborne tin can while that woman is probably toasting with premium champagne up front? What about our vacation? What about our plans?" He had no ready reply. The guilt, a constant shadow since the switch, tugged at him. He'd aspired to altruism, to extend a helping hand, but the price felt steep now, confronted with his daughter's disappointment. "It's just a flight, Lily," he said, the words sounding hollow even to his own ears. "Easy for you to say," she countered, turning to gaze out the window, silent tears tracing paths down her cheeks. "You're not the one trapped between Mr. Chatterbox and a screaming infant." The plane surged forward, gathering speed on the runway. As they became airborne, Leo stole a glance at Lily. She remained stubbornly averted. He wondered, with a sinking feeling, if he'd made a colossal error in judgment. An angel in first class. Settled into the plush leather of seat 1A, Eleanor couldn't shake the image of Leo's face, a complex mix of guilt and forced nonchalance as he ushered Lily toward the back of the plane. Lily, however, was less composed. Eleanor watched, unseen, as they navigated the narrow aisle toward economy. Lily's small shoulders were hunched, her lower lip trembling. She kicked a carelessly placed carry-on with unnecessary force, earning a glare from its owner. Leo knelt beside her, whispering something that made her pout even harder. Eleanor felt a pang of guilt, sharp and unexpected. He'd given up his seat, their seats, for her. A complete stranger. And Lily, despite her disappointment, hadn't thrown a full-blown tantrum. She'd simply looked, defeated. The flight attendants bustled around, offering pre-flight drinks. Eleanor accepted a glass of champagne, the bubbles doing little to soothe her conscience. She kept glancing back, subtly observing the pair as they settled into their much less spacious surroundings. Remarkably, they seemed to be making the best of it. Leo pulled out a small, well-worn book from his backpack and started reading aloud to Lily, his voice a low murmur that barely carried over the general din. Lily, initially slumped and dejected, gradually straightened up, her eyes fixed on the book. She even smiled once, a fleeting flash of joy that illuminated her small face. Eleanor watched as Leo conjured an imaginary dragon, his hands shaping the air with theatrical flourishes. Lily giggled, a bright, clear sound that cut through the drone of the plane's engines. He was a good father, Eleanor realized, perhaps even a great one. His selflessness wasn't just a grand gesture, it was woven into the fabric of his being. He was prioritizing his daughter's comfort even when he was clearly sacrificing his own. Eleanor took another sip of champagne, the taste suddenly metallic. She couldn't simply accept his sacrifice without offering something in return. But what? A simple thank you seemed inadequate. A gift card felt impersonal. She needed to do something meaningful. An idea began to form, a nascent plan taking shape in her mind. It was audacious, perhaps even a little crazy, but it felt right. It would require careful maneuvering, a delicate touch, and a healthy dose of luck. But if it worked, she could repay Leo's kindness in a way he could never have imagined. The plane began to taxi toward the runway. Eleanor fastened her seatbelt, her gaze fixed on Leo and Lily in the distance. They were a small, almost insignificant presence in the vast cabin. But to Eleanor, they represented something much larger, genuine goodness, unwavering resilience, and the quiet strength of a loving father. She felt a surge of determination. She wouldn't let their kindness go unrewarded. She would find a way. Unexpected arrival. Leo wrestled the bulky carry-on from the overhead bin, nearly braining a businessman in the process. "My bad," he muttered, heat creeping up his neck. He loathed this entire situation, the self-reproach gnawing at him, the conviction he'd let Lily down somehow. He'd even sacrificed his first-class haven, trading it for a cramped seat near the restrooms to sit with her. Lily hadn't uttered a complaint, but her tightly clenched jaw spoke volumes. The terminal assaulted their senses, a maelstrom of shrill announcements, wailing infants, and the incessant whir of rolling suitcases as they shuffled along with the masses. Lily lagged behind, dispiritedly scuffing at a stray boarding pass. He longed to bridge the chasm of silence, but the words remained trapped. "This is just awful," Lily finally whispered, her voice thin. "I was promised champagne and decent pillows." Leo sighed, the sound heavy with regret. "I know, sweetie. I'm so sorry." He scanned the throngs of people, a desperate hunt for the baggage carousel. What felt like an eternity passed before their bags finally emerged, ejected onto the conveyor belt like unwanted parcels. Suddenly, a precise voice sliced through the clamor. "Mr. Maxwell? Miss Maxwell?" Leo turned to face a man in a flawlessly tailored dark suit, holding a small, discreet sign bearing their names. Impeccably groomed, he radiated an aura of quiet capability that bordered on intimidating. "Yes, that's us," Leo responded, completely bewildered. The man offered a restrained, courteous smile. "Ms. Vance extends her sincerest apologies for the inconvenience. She has arranged for a private car to escort you to your hotel. If you would be so kind as to follow me." Lily's eyes widened, alight with surprise. A A private car? Leo, still reeling, could only stammer, but we didn't. I mean, the chauffeur offered no further explanation, simply gesturing toward a nearby exit. With practiced efficiency, he gathered their luggage, his movements fluid and economical. Outside, a gleaming obsidian town car idled, its chrome trim catching the harsh glare of the airport lights. The interior offered the scent of supple leather mingled with a delicate floral fragrance, a far cry from the airplane's stale, recycled atmosphere. Lily gasped softly as she settled into the luxurious seats. As they glided away from the curb, leaving the pandemonium of the terminal behind, Leo found his voice. "Where are we going?" "The Grand Astoria, sir. Miss Vance has kindly reserved a suite for your stay." Leo stared out the window, the city lights dissolving into luminous streaks. The Grand Astoria? A pinnacle of urban opulence, a place far beyond his financial reach. He glanced at Lily, who was gazing out the window with a blend of wonder and disbelief. He shared her sentiments exactly. What in the world was happening? This wasn't just unexpected, it was bordering on the bizarre. Who was this Eleanor Vance, and what was her motivation? And why did he harbor the unnerving premonition that this was merely the opening act? Presidential surprise. Leo fumbled with the keycard, its gold finish gleaming under the soft hallway lights. He'd been expecting a modest room, maybe even a slight downgrade after their first-class debacle. Lily trailed behind, muttering about legroom and the injustice of it all. The lock clicked, and Leo pushed open the door. Both of them stopped dead. It wasn't a room. It was an apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased a breathtaking panorama of the city, twinkling like scattered diamonds against velvet. A plush, ivory sofa curved around a low glass table laden with fruit and pastries. Beyond that, a dining area shimmered under the glow of a crystal chandelier. "What is this?" Lily breathed, her earlier complaints vanishing like mist. Leo stepped inside cautiously. I don't know. There must be some mistake." He walked further into the suite, running a hand over the smooth surface of a polished mahogany desk. A single, cream-colored envelope rested in the center. He picked it up, his heart thumping a nervous rhythm. "Who's it from?" Lily asked, already halfway to the pastry platter. Leo tore open the envelope and unfolded the crisp stationery. The elegant script leaped out at him. "Mr. Maxwell, I hope this small token finds you well. I am Eleanor Vance. I feel I must explain myself. I am the CEO of Vanguard Airlines. I witnessed your selfless act earlier today, giving up your seat for me. Your kindness was a stark contrast to the usual pressures of my position. Please accept this suite as a small gesture of my gratitude. I hope you and your daughter enjoy your stay. It is the least I can do to express my sincere admiration for your character." Sincerely, Eleanor Vance. Lily, mouth full of a chocolate eclair, stared at him. "CEO? Of Vanguard?" "The Vanguard." Leo nodded slowly, rereading the note. Eleanor Vance. It rang a bell, a distant, almost mythical figure he'd seen in business magazines. He'd given up his seat for her? "Dad," Lily said, swallowing hard. "You gave up your seat? For the CEO of the airline?" Her eyes widened, taking in the suite with a new appreciation. "And she gave us this?" Leo felt a wave of relief wash over him, mixed with a strange sense of unreality. He'd been so consumed by guilt, by trying to do the right thing, he hadn't considered any potential outcome beyond cramped knees and Lily's grumbling. He looked at his daughter, who was now examining the intricate details of a hand-painted vase. The disappointment that had shadowed her face all day had vanished, replaced by a mixture of awe and understanding. "I guess," he said, a small smile playing on his lips. "Sometimes doing the right thing pays off in unexpected ways." Lily turned, a smudge of chocolate on her cheek. "So, no more complaining about legroom?" "Not a peep," Leo said, gesturing around the opulent suite. He might have stumbled into this situation, but he was determined to make the most of it. And maybe, just maybe, he taught Lily a valuable lesson along the way. Fly it forward. The invitation arrived on thick, cream-colored cardstock, embossed with the Skylark Airlines logo. Lily had shrieked when she saw it, a sound that echoed around their modest apartment, bouncing off the mismatched furniture. "We're going to Skylark headquarters? Seriously?" Leo swallowed, the memory of the first-class cabin, the plush leather, and the guilt twisting in his stomach. He'd done the right thing, hadn't he? But seeing Lily's deflated face when he'd offered their seat still stung. "Yeah, looks like it." The day itself felt surreal. A sleek black car, not their beat-up sedan, whisked them through the city past gleaming skyscrapers that seemed to mock their own cramped existence. Skylark headquarters was a glass and steel behemoth humming with quiet efficiency. They were ushered into a sprawling auditorium already filled with smartly dressed people. Lily, clutching his hand, looked like a sparrow lost in a flock of peacocks. Then Eleanor Vance stepped onto the stage. Leo recognized her instantly, even without the pearls. She looked different, sharper. The furrowed brow from the plane replaced by a confident smile. A wave of apprehension washed over him. What was she going to say? "Many of you know me," Eleanor began, her voice amplified, filling the room. "But some of you might not know about a small act of kindness that occurred on a recent Skylark flight. An act of kindness that has profoundly impacted me, and that I believe embodies the spirit of this company." Leo felt Lily squeeze his hand tighter. He wanted to disappear. Eleanor recounted the story, not mentioning names at first, but describing a single father and his daughter giving up their first-class seats for a woman in need. She spoke of their generosity, their selflessness, and the unexpected impact it had on her. Leo felt his face burning. Then she said, "That single father is here today. Leo Maxwell, would you please stand?" The spotlight found him. Leo stood, feeling every eye in the room boring into him. Lily stood with him, a mixture of confusion and dawning understanding on her face. "Leo," Eleanor continued, her voice warm, "your act of kindness, however small it may have seemed to you, has inspired us. It has reminded us of the power of human connection and the importance of giving back." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the audience. "Therefore, I am proud to announce the launch of Fly It Forward, a Skylark Airlines initiative that will provide free flights to families facing hardship, allowing them to connect with loved ones, seek medical treatment, or simply experience the joy of travel." A wave of applause erupted, washing over Leo like a warm tide. Lily was beaming, her eyes shining. Eleanor raised her hand for silence. "This program is a direct result of Leo's generosity. He showed us that even the smallest act can create ripples of change." She turned to Leo, her eyes meeting his. "Thank you, Leo. From the bottom of my heart." Later, as they were leaving, Lily tugged on his sleeve. "Dad," she said, her voice filled with awe, "you're a hero." Leo smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. Maybe, just maybe, he had done something right. The guilt hadn't completely vanished, but it was lighter now, replaced by a sense of hope. Kindness takes flight. The taxi smelled faintly of stale coffee and regret, a fitting aroma for their return. Leo stared out the window, the familiar streets of Chicago blurring past, a stark contrast to the turquoise waters and sun-drenched beaches they'd left behind. He should have been elated, buzzing with memories of snorkeling and building sandcastles with Lily, but a persistent knot of guilt tightened in his stomach. "Did you have fun, Peanut?" he asked, turning to Lily, who was slumped against the car door, her lower lip trembling. She nodded, but the enthusiasm was missing. "Yeah, but I wish we were still in first class." Leo winced. He'd known this was coming. "I know, sweetie. But sometimes doing the right thing means making sacrifices." "But why did you have to give up my seat?" she whined, the word "my" drawn out with dramatic emphasis. He sighed. "It wasn't just your seat, Lily. And Mrs. Vance needed it more." He didn't elaborate, still unsure how to explain the complexities of his decision to a 7-year-old, especially one who just experienced the plush comfort of premium seating. Back in their small apartment, the glow of the television screen illuminated their faces. News reports flashed images of families boarding planes, their faces alight with hope. The headline screamed, "Fly It Forward initiative launched by Vance Airlines." "Look, Lily," Leo exclaimed, pointing at the screen. "Mrs. Vance started a program to help other families travel. Just like we did." Lily's eyes widened as she watched a young girl, no older than herself, hug her mother tightly before boarding a plane to visit her sick grandmother. The reporter explained that the Fly It Forward program would provide free flights to families facing hardship, allowing them to reconnect and create lasting memories. All thanks to a single act of kindness that had inspired Eleanor Vance. Suddenly, a familiar face appeared on the screen. It was Mrs. Vance standing in front of a Vance Airlines jet. "I was profoundly moved by the selfless act of a young man on a recent flight," she said, her voice clear and resonant. "He gave up his first-class seat so that I could be more comfortable." That simple gesture sparked an idea, a belief that kindness, like an airplane, can truly take flight. The camera zoomed in on a photo of Leo snapped discreetly on the plane. He cringed, feeling a wave of embarrassment wash over him. Lily, however, was beaming. "That's you, Daddy. You're famous." Leo chuckled, a genuine smile finally gracing his lips. He pulled Lily close, her earlier disappointment seemingly forgotten. Not famous, sweetie. Just doing what I thought was right. As they watched the news report, Leo realized that his initial act of kindness, born out of guilt and a desire to make amends, had blossomed into something far greater than he could have ever imagined. The discomfort of the taxi ride, the sting of Lily's disappointment, even the potential awkwardness of future flights, they all seemed insignificant now. He had unknowingly contributed to something meaningful, something that would touch countless lives. He glanced at Lily, her eyes shining with pride, and understood that sometimes the best destinations are reached not by upgrading your seat, but by elevating your heart.